All right, so today we're going to really take a deep dive into something that's been in the news a lot lately, and that is this whole bird flu thing.
Yeah,
And I mean, it feels like it's something that kind of comes and goes,
right.
right? Like we've heard about bird flu, but this time it feels like it's a little bit different.
Yeah, it's definitely
See.
gotten a lot more serious.
Yeah, and a lot more attention, I think, from everybody.
hmm
And what we're looking at today is specifically an article that came out from NPR on January 18th of 2025.
Okay.
So very, very recent. And, they're talking all about a potential bird flu vaccine,
Interesting.
which I think is really what has everybody kind of on edge. And I mean, it seems like it could be pretty serious,
Well, I mean, when you look at some of the numbers that are coming out about this specific strain,
right?
it's actually the deadliest bird flu outbreak in U.S. history.
That's scary.
Yeah. And, they're saying over 58 million birds
Wow,
in 47 states have already died from this virus.
that's a lot of birds.
It is. And, that's just birds.
Right.
So think about what could happen if it jumps to humans.
Right. And that's the big fear, right?
Yeah.
Is that
Yep.
it's been spreading amongst birds like wildfire.
Yeah, and that's usually kind of the first sign that there is a potential for it to make that jump to humans.
Right.
So it's something we have to take very seriously.
Absolutely. So that being said, what's being done? I mean, there has to be something.
Well, that's where this whole vaccine trial comes in.
Right.
Moderna,
Yeah.
they've started the very first human trials for a bird flu vaccine, and it's specifically designed to target this H5N1 strain.
Which is great. I mean, it's great that somebody's working on it.
Absolutely.
But that kind of begs the question, what is a phase 1 trial?
Right. So it's not like we're going to have this vaccine ready for everybody tomorrow.
Okay.
It's really just the first step in a very long process.
Gotcha.
So what they're doing is they're taking a small group of healthy volunteers and they're giving them the vaccine. And this is really just to make sure that it's safe, that there are no serious side effects,
Okay.
and to kind of figure out the right dosage.
So it's more about safety than like
Exactly.
efficacy at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
It's like the first.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I did notice in the article they mentioned that the volunteers in this trial are between 18 and 50 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a specific reason why they're focusing on that age group?
Well, typically when you're doing these early trials, you want to minimize the risks as much as possible.
Makes sense.
Younger, healthier adults tend to have, stronger immune systems.
Right.
They're less likely to have other health problems.
Right. Pre-existing conditions and all that.
Exactly. So it's really just the safest way to start.
Okay. Well, that makes sense for the trial. But, down the line, if this vaccine does end up working, what does that mean for the rest of us? Like, what about people older than 50 or younger than 18?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say for certain right now because it really depends on how this virus progresses and, what the health organizations decide is best.
Right.
But generally speaking, you would think that they would prioritize the people who are most at risk, right?
Makes sense.
So older adults,
Yeah.
people with compromised immune systems,
Yeah.
those would probably be the first ones in line if and when a vaccine becomes widely available.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
But it's a long road to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the article also mentioned that this virus is spreading globally.
Yes.
It's not just a U.S. problem.
Right.
So how does that global aspect affect the development of a vaccine?
Well, I mean, it makes it a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
Because you have to think about international collaboration.
Yeah.
You've got all these different countries, all these different researchers.
Yeah.
And they all need to be sharing data. They need to be sharing their findings, potentially even sharing resources.
Right.
If we want to develop a vaccine as quickly and effectively as possible.
So international collaboration is key.
It's absolutely essential.
And that kind of brings us to the big picture for you, our listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Even if this particular vaccine doesn't end up being the silver bullet,
Right.
the research itself is incredibly important.
Absolutely.
I mean, this virus is a real wake-up call.
It is.
That pandemic preparedness is absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
We need to be ready for anything.
Yeah. And I think what this trial really shows is that we are making progress. We are learning more about how to fight these viruses.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really encouraging.
Absolutely. Even if it's not, an immediate solution,
Right.
the fact that we're working on it
Yeah.
is a good sign.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been really fascinating. And it's kind of, eye-opening
Yeah.
to think about how quickly things can change
It really is.
in the world of infectious diseases.
Absolutely.
But, Hopefully this deep dive has given you all the information you need to
Good.
stay informed and to really understand what's going on with this bird flu strain
Right.
and what its potential impact could be.
Exactly.
So as things develop, just remember to stay informed
Mm-hmm.
and to be aware that, this is a global problem
Yeah.
and it's going to require a global solution.
Right.
So keep an eye on what's happening, not just here in the U.S., but around the world.
Absolutely.
And we'll keep you updated as new information becomes available.
Great.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
We'll catch you next time.
See you then.